Join me as we learn Chumash for Tuesday, the third Torah reading of Parshas Beha'aloscha, chapter 9, verse 1. Today we're going to learn about the Passover that was celebrated in the desert. The Torah now tells us about the first Passover that happened a year ago, but the Torah tells us the first time, and one of the only times, that the Jewish people actually celebrated Passover in the desert. From here we're also going to go to the second time, about the second Passover, meaning the second chance that a person has to celebrate Passover. Chapter 9, verse 1. And God spoke to Moshe in the Sinai desert. This is the second year since the Jewish people's exodus from Egypt. In the first month, Lemor, saying. So we are now in the year 2449. Moses spoke to God, telling Moses at that point, a year after the Jewish people's exodus, what should be done. Rashi, b'chodesh harishain, the first of the month, the first month. Parsha Shabbereisha Sefer Le'nemar Adiyar. The Torah reading that we mentioned before, that was at the beginning of this Torah reading, meaning in the book of Numbers, the beginning of the book of Numbers was actually only said the second month. There is no the Torah was not written in chronological order. So now we're in the third Torah reading of the book of Numbers, which was actually said before the first two Torah readings in the book of Numbers. You may ask, why doesn't the Torah start in order, and why doesn't it start with something that happened on the first of Nisan? Why didn't it start with this Torah reading? Because it also tells us about an embarrassing fact about the Jewish people. Because throughout the 40 years that the Jewish people were in the desert, they only brought once a Paschal offering. This is the only Pesach that they celebrated in the desert from when they went out of Egypt until they entered the land of Israel, and then they circumcised themselves, as we read about it in the book of Joshua. And this is also because if the Jewish people wouldn't have sinned with the sin of the spies, as we're going to read about in the next Torah reading, then they would have gone into Israel right away, and there wouldn't have been 40 years in between. So technically speaking, this would have been the first one in the desert. The next Pesach, they were supposed to be already in the land of Israel. The 40-year interim was not on the plan or on the books according to the Jewish people. Verse 2. And the Jewish people, the Israelites, must offer the Paschal offering in its appointed time, in the proper time. Rashi, b'moyadoi, what is the word b'moyadoi? Af b'Shabbos b'moyadoi af b'tumah, meaning in its appointed time, even when that appointed time comes out on Shabbos, and even if everybody or most people are impure. As we're going to learn about the second Pesach that happens if people are impure, that's only if individuals are impure. But if everybody was impure, you would even still bring the Paschal offering. Verse 3. On the afternoon of the 14th of this month, Bein Arbayim in the afternoon, Tasui said they should do it, in its appointed time. They should do it according to all its statutes and according to all its ordinances, as we'll see what that means. This is the first time that the Jewish people are bringing the Paschal offering outside Egypt. Last time the Paschal offering was brought, they were inside Egypt. So now the Torah tells us the laws of how it would be done regularly in the time of the Holy Temple, wherever they may be, and how one should do it. So therefore the Torah says, all its statutes is number one, mitzvahs shebegufei. The mitzvahs that have to do with the actual detail of the offering itself. Number one, set tamim. It has to be a lamb without any blemishes. Zachar, a male. Ben shana, a year old. Chol mishpat of all its ordinances. Elo mitzvah shal gufe. Those are the mitzvahs that come as an addition to it. So, for example, mimakamacha from someplace else. When does it have to be done? Kigan shivas yamim matzah. 7 days for eating matzah. Bir chametz. Restrictions of not having chametz at the time. Mitzvahs begufei as well. You have set tamim zachar ben shana al gufei tzliyesh, has to be roasted. Reish al krav kirbay, the way it's roasted in one thing. Shechutz l'gufei, outside the body would be matzah bir chametz, that has to be eaten with matzah and getting rid of the chametz. Verse 4. Vaydaber Moshe b'nei Yisrael lasis hapasach. Moshe spoke to all the Jewish people that they should do the Paschal offering. Rashi, Ma Talmud Leimer, what is this verse coming to tell me? Doesn't it say that Moshe already said the festivals of God? Though over there, when we learned in the book of Leviticus that Moshe told them about the different festivals was when he heard them from Sinai, he then repeated them to the Jewish people. Over here, so there's two kinds of teachings that Moshe did. There was one time Moshe taught the Jewish people when he heard them from Sinai and he told them what has to be done. A second time when it came to the actual action, to the time period when it was done, for example, now the 1st of Nisan, he's telling them about the laws of the pertaining of what has to be done at the time. Verse 5. Vayasu es HaPesach, and the Jewish people did the Paschal offering, Barishain, on the first day of the Barishain in the first month, Ba'asar Yom L'Chodesh, in the 14th day of the month, Bein Arbaim in the afternoon, B'midbar Sinai in Sinai desert, as everything that God commanded Moses, so too the Jewish people did. Verse 6. But there were men who became ritually impure, and that is because they touched a dead body. And therefore they were not able to bring the Paschal offering on that exact day. So therefore they approached Moshe and Aaron on that day. Why both of them? Both were sitting in the study hall. They asked, that doesn't mean that they asked one after the other. Because if Moshe didn't know, how would Aaron know? So probably they were sitting together. The fellows came over. These people were ritually impure. Why were they ritually impure? There are different commentaries that explain why they were ritually impure. Some want to say these were the people that were actually carrying the ark, the coffin of the tribes and of Joseph, and therefore they were ritually impure. Others want to say they were actually Mishal and Altsaf, the two people who took out Nadav and Avihu from the Holy of Holies, and therefore they were ritually impure, and they were not able to bring the Paschal offering because they came in contact with a dead corpse. Rashi, next verse. Verse 7. And those people said to Moshe and Aaron, we are impure because we came in contact with a dead corpse. Why should we lose out? To be able to bring the sacrifice of God. Why should we be excluded from bringing the sacrifice of God in its appointed time amongst the rest of the Jewish people? Rashi, Lama Nigara, Amar Lahem. They came to Moshe and Aaron, they said, we want to bring the sacrifice. They said to Moshe, Ein kachim krevi betuma. You can't bring holy sacrifices when you're impure. Amrulai, they said to them, Yizrek adam aleinu, let us get the blood sprinkled upon us, b'koyanim b'tahirim, and we will be like the Kohanim that are pure. V'yeichal abasar l'tahirim. V'yeichal abasar l'tahirim. Okay, we can't eat the meat only later on, but what's the problem? If we are not able to eat it, let us then, just like other sacrifices of the Kohanim that you give, just if the time that the actual sacrifice was brought, we cannot eat it, what are we supposed to do? Amar lahem, so he said to them, and we'll eat it when we become pure. Meanwhile, let somebody else. Why can't it be brought while we're impure? Amar lam, so Moshe said to them, Imdu, stand v'eshman, I'll let you know. They're like a student that was ready to hear from their teacher. Lucky is such an individual that whenever he knows that any time he'll have a question, his teacher will be there to answer. That Moshe knew that Moshe's prophecy was so great that any time he needed a question, God would come and tell him. Technically, Moshe could have been told this commandment on his own. God could have came and told Moshe this would be the law for somebody that's impure. But because these people, because they felt bad that they weren't able to bring this sacrifice, because they asked and said, why should we lose out? Rashi says, God makes that a merit should come through special people. That because they were righteous, therefore they were entitled and they got the special merit that this parsha should be said, this Torah reading, this mitzvah should be given because of them. which teaches us such an important lesson, that a person should never feel that he's too left out, that he doesn't have the ability to connect to God. When a person realizes Lama Nigara, he feels a lack of purity, of holiness. He asks of God, why should I be different? Then God gives them not only gives them the mitzvah, the ability that they're able to do the mitzvah just like everybody else, but entire Torah reading comes because of them. Verse 8. Moshe says to them, Imdu stand ve'eshma ma'yitzav Hashem lachem, and I'll tell you what God will tell you, what God will command. Verse 9. And God spoke to Moshe saying, Daber el bnei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people, ish any man ki yatami, with he's impure lenefesh, because he came in contact with the dead corpse, or he has been too far. He's in a distant place. Lachem for you, either now to you guys or for future generations. Pesach Lashem, he can still make a paschal sacrifice to God. Rashi, verse 10, if you look at the word bederech rechoka in the Torah, you'll see nokudalav. It has little dots on it. Loimar to say, vadai, not that it means he was really distant and that he wasn't able to come. He was outside the actual doorstep of the Azara in the time of the slaughtering, at the time when one had to bring the Paschal offering. Pesach Sheni, and therefore Rashi explains that many different laws apply to the second Pesach, different than if the Pesach was brought in its proper time. For example, matzah v'chametzim b'bayis. When it comes to the Pesach Sheni, to the second Pesach, you can have matzah and chametz. You don't have to have only matzah. There's no prohibition of having chametz in your home. It is not considered a holiday where you have to rest, and therefore where it's prohibited from working as well. So there's differences when it comes to the actual second Pesach versus the Pesach being brought in its original time. Verse 12, verse 11, on the second month, a person will have the opportunity to bring the Paschal offering. The 14th day, ben arbayim in the afternoon, Yasway, so they will do it. They will eat it together with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Verse 12, they should not leave anything over from the 14th in the second month to the next day. They must eat it, they must not break any of its bones. They should do it with all the different statutes connected with the regular Paschal sacrifice. Still in all, besides those exceptions that we mentioned, they're allowed to have chametz. It's not considered a holy day. Verse 13, Va'ish asher hu toir, a person who is clean, meaning he's not come in contact with a dead corpse and therefore he is pure. Ubederech leihaya, and he was not on a journey. And he still neglects to bring the Paschal offering, says, don't worry about it, I'll be able to do it next month. That person will die prematurely because he missed out the chance of bringing God's sacrifice in its appropriate time. He will thereby carry his sin. That person will bear the sin. Verse 14. If we will be together with you, if a convert that dwells amongst you, and he becomes obligated to offer the Passover sacrifice to Hashem, he doesn't do it immediately by his conversion. He must offer it according to its statutes and the regulations of the Paschal sacrifice. Ken Yasa, so too he should do it according to that, meaning on the 14th of Nisan, just like everybody else. And therefore, this is one statute for you, v'lager, and to the convert, v'la'ezrach, and to the native-born citizen ha'aretz of the land. Rashi, I would have thought from the very fact that he tells it to us that he will do the Paschal offering means whoever converts should do the Paschal offering right away as soon as he converts, even if it's not in the time of Pesach. Talmud Leimar, Chukachas, therefore the Torah tells us the statute, Elakach Mashmoi. This is what it means. When a convert's going to live with you, and it'll come the time of the regular Pesach time, which is the 14th month of the Nisan. That means don't think just because you missed out a chance to bring the Paschal offering when you converted, that you do it right then at that time. No, you wait until it comes the regular time of Pesach, which is the 14th day of the first month, and then you will bring the Korban Pesach, the Paschal offering, like everybody else. This concludes the third Torah reading of Parshas Beha'aloscha.